We go. Welcome everyone to the Sunday meeting, and we see Bojan replaced by his dog today, which will be an interesting discussion. Hi, Rebecca. The other ones are turning off your cameras. That's okay, but I'll just tell you that it's more easy for me to see when someone wants to talk. When I don't have your videos, I cannot react on that. Okay, first round. Briefings, what happened this week? Let's start with Rebecca.
Okay, if you don't mind, I'm just going to turn off my camera and go somewhere else and read it off to you because I've been doing it.
It's quite okay. It's quite okay.
Okay.
So.
Okay.
Okay, here you go. Rebecca, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm just pulling up the file. Okay. Just a moment.
Okay, sorry. Hey, Bojan, you're back.
Yeah, I smoke.
I thought you were substituted by your dog.
Yeah, he is stupid. He's just stupid. I love him, but he is a dumbass.
Okay. I think it's been a fairly quiet week. Mm-hmm. Josh is still working on computer issues. He's got some issues with his computer.
Okay.
Jannik, it looks like he's going to present a little later what issues he's working on. Brandon is on vacation, and he's probably still getting up to, back to normal life. As for me, I'm working on the Django web app. I had some problems using the Docker setup that was set up by Brandon.
Yeah.
I kept trying to install it. I got portions of it installed, couldn't resolve it, went and got help with other developers, asking them what they thought. They thought I should just rebuild it from scratch, so that way I can find out what the problem is. I'm sharing file information with them, error information, and they couldn't figure it out either. So they recommended I build it from scratch. So that's what I'm doing. And since I'm building it from scratch, I'm also customizing it more, or what I think would be better for us.
Perfect.
I'd like to focus more on having the site based more on Django and Python, since that's what most of the developers are familiar with, and have less reliance on Node and JavaScript. Hopefully eliminate Node altogether, but if not, try to use it minimally. Mm-hmm. And let's see. Okay, for the database, I know that there is a database that's selected to be used on the Django's, on the Sky 360 station, but I'm kind of leaning toward Postgres with a Postgres add-on. And I'm building that, and anyone's free to use it or not, how they so choose. So that easily integrates with Django. I don't know about the other database platform that's been considered. I don't know how that works with Django, simply because I haven't looked.
Maybe Christian can elaborate later on it, because he favors Neo4j, because it's quicker access for huge data sets. But there must be also an integration with Django. Must be. I think so. I hope so.
Okay. Yeah, that would make sense.
Let's make a point afterwards. Also, go ahead.
Okay. And let me see. Oh, yeah. Well, and one reason I like Postgres is because I attended a meetup a few years ago This was back when I lived in California. It was actually a Python meetup, but the presenter was an employee from Disneyland, and he actually spoke mostly about Postgres and how the filmmakers would save each individual frame in the movie and its separate layers in Postgres. So that made me think of the Sky 360 and saving, the videos.
What means
Example is somebody wants to.
Bojan, what did you say?
What was that?
what means Postgres or Postgres?
Is a database.
Oh, okay.
And so Disneyland, whenever they are in the process of building their movies, when they're actually building them frame by frame, they save every frame in Postgres.
Really?
And it reminds me, and that reminds me of how we're going to be trying to save videos and eventually, I would think, try to break it up frame by frame. So that might be something to think about. And also you can save rasterized files, which is sort of a good idea possibly for what you might be using when you come to mapping things such as, I think Jannik earlier did a PNG in the chat room of a map with neutrinos. So maybe that could be rasterized, things like that, and saved in Postgres. So it's just a thought.
Okay, great. Bojan, your turn. Okay, you already mentioned that this week. Sorry, Rebecca?
I didn't do much.
Yeah, got it.
Okay, sorry.
Just one more thing. I received a message from one of the Sky 360 users, and he had some suggestions, and I don't know if you wanted me to bring that up here.
Go ahead.
Or send you a message with that. Just basically he wanted to get an extra interface so that way he could add his own equipment, which made me start to think, well, what if other people want to do that? Maybe we might like to build something where people can input their information and have our software figure out how their device is communicating, and then maybe have a way to have it customized so that people can add some of their own equipment also. So I don't know what you thought of that, but I can send you the email that he sent with some of the items that he liked, or what he would consider to be his dream station.
Okay, got it. Yeah, shoot over. That's a good point actually, because the maintenance view should be the ability to change devices, for example, camera devices or other sensors. That's a good point. Yeah, shoot me over, please.
Okay, yeah, he was actually thinking of setting up some different radio devices, one VHF, UHF, and another one S-band, and I think put it on a satellite that sits on a PTZ, a satellite dish that sits on a PTZ, so that way he can have it point to an event when it's triggered and things like that. So he'd like to be able to customize it. Yeah.
May I?
Christian,
we already have. I don't know why my camera is not working. I think Discord has a problem, and I got a new version. Okay. Besides that, we are planning on having a dish SDR as a radio equivalent to our PTZ cam. So there is no need for adding such a device on top of the PTZ cam. Because of that, customizing is a nice idea, but as we are building the system as open as it gets, normally we do not have to have something like adding own hardware, because the INDI protocol supports all kinds of cameras, and so you can just hook up your camera to the INDI protocol, and you just have to see whether it connects via video for Linux 2 or something like that. So we already have that at the maximum customizable. Adding your own layer to it is not what the design should be, because then we have got something that grows in every direction, and we get plenty of code that can't be controlled otherwise. I think it's not a good idea to have such a layer, because we started out having the INDI protocol to solve exactly that.
Maybe the word layer is here the inference, but we certainly have the ability, let's say in the maintenance view, to change devices. For example, you have two cameras and you hook one camera and then you want to change and take the other camera. So in the maintenance view, you should be able to change that without another layer of completely different equipment, of different software approaches, where the software not even exists yet.
You put your camera in the USB plug in, and it is detected automatically.
So you don't need a
do you want to choose?
Okay, got it. So you don't need a maintenance view. Just the maintenance view shows you which camera is already plugged in.
Yeah, and the view of the camera is shown. Each camera view is shown.
I'd say let's see the email that Rebecca received, and maybe there are some aspects in it that are interesting. Maybe we didn't get the whole picture yet, I'd say.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll send it to you.
Yeah, please. Thank you.
Okay, after the meeting, I'll send it.
Perfect. Okay, leads me to the next one. Bojan skipped this week. He had his normal Florida life this week. He enjoyed his Florida life this week. I'm joking.
Yeah. Yeah.
Who is next? Christian, maybe you go next.
Yeah. I was working on three things the last week. On last Sunday, we talked about having disk images for each device that we are using, the Jetson Nano, the Pi, or any other thing. I took a deeper look into and decided that we will have Sky 360 distribution for each device. And I started already with it, and we are having checked out the StellaMate OS, which is not suitable for the Pi because it's lacking software and upgrade possibilities. I checked out the Ubuntu version for the Pi. This has everything we need, and we are going with that. And I checked the Raspbian, and the Raspbian is as bad as StellaMate OS. So Ubuntu it will be. And I already installed the software we need for the developing at the moment. It will be the full INDI server, GStreamer, and the Python stuff. Then I was working on the GStreamer end for the video capturing, so I call that subject video capturing, and we will have to decide if we are going by GStreamer or using FFmpeg. It doesn't matter at the moment. I'm going with GStreamer to check it out, and it can be called just from Python just via system calls. So it's a good way to go that direction because GStreamer can write directly to any web server, and we do not have to use WebSockets by it because we can just connect to the stream directly. GStreamer can be used on both ends as a provider and a receiver. And this is an advantage. With FFmpeg, we might have to use WebSockets, as Beeks pointed out last week. On the INDI side, we have support for the RZ cameras, the QHY cameras, and video for Linux at the moment, but not streamable. I will look into that tomorrow or on Tuesday, so that I can bring all three subjects together. This is what I have done in the last days.
Perfect. Thank you, Christian. One question. You mentioned you need a server. So can you go into detail what you need and what the purpose is?
Yeah, while I was checking out GStreamer, I found that it can stream to any server. It just needs an address where it can put the stream to. I do not know what server exactly is needed. I think any
What's the
web
idea?
server will do.
Can you explain the idea behind this? Why you want to use this?
I think it will be a task for later use. If we have a network set up and we are looking for something, or something happened, a major event happened, and we want to look into it further, then we can connect to that station and the live feed all over the world. Because it is piped, the stream is piped directly to some kind of server, and we just have to connect.
I see. So
one.
it's just a Y split.
Yeah, and we should use it on our system internally, of course, because then we do not have to run the Jetson Nano and the neural network via GPIO pins and just stream from the Pi to the Jetson. We can use it, we can set up the Pi as some kind of web server and let only the video buffer of the Nano connect to it. So we save a lot of traffic in our internal network. And this is what GStreamer is nice for.
So you're saying that you want to directly stream from the Pi to the Nano via GPIO pins.
This was the first idea, and it is possible. It is pretty fast, about 6 gigabytes per second, or 60 million nanosamples per second. This is possible to do that. Mm-hmm. We can just hook it up and use parallel transmission to do that. Or the other thing is setting up the stream and connecting to it. And this would save us a lot of traffic because we can connect the web view and the Nano at the same time without having the cost of piping the stream to two different front ends or back ends. Yeah.
But in this case, you mean streaming via Ethernet?
Yes.
From the Pi to the Nano. Okay. Is this performance-wise?
And we do not have a performance leak while doing that because we do not collect it, but we stream it. So we just provide it. And you can connect to one single stream. And it doesn't matter if you connect the Nano to it or, let's say, the web view, and because the stream is there already.
Okay, we have to test this performance-wise.
Yes.
Let's say.
Hey, Christian, I have a question for you.
Yeah?
Okay.
Hey, look, I have IMX219 160, 160 degrees angle module 3218 by 2464 pixels.
Yeah.
So what is different between IMX183?
Size of the sensor.
And pixel size.
Therefore.
So IMX183 has more pixel size?
Not more, but bigger. And in this case, bigger is better.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
but I can still...
I can use that one for testing, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can still use
because
it.
Because I bought this last year.
Yeah.
Last year on a summer. Oh, actually, what I'm going to do tonight, I'm going to check it out because the Nano Jetson has digital IOs and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And in the end of the day, the climate control is very very simple in the end of the day. And maybe, just maybe, in order to cut down the price, maybe we can put the climate control piece of software on a Jetson, because doesn't require, this is just a simple temperature control.
Yeah.
So this is okay. Development is on a Teamsy 4.1 because we have a bunch of sensors and stuff like that, better for development. But later on, so what I'm trying to do tonight and this week, and also I will play with Teamsy when I receive tomorrow, to check it out, how can we implement the climate control from existing Jetson Nano in a enclosure, So this is like a cutting down price, like a $30-35 or something, plus wiring and stuff like that.
Bojan, I think it's not. It's less a technical question than a practical question.
Why practical?
The climate control is an external device that you put on the enclosure from underneath. If you put it away, you would have to unplug things from the inside. Now, with the idea to have it as a kind of a standalone device, just hooked underneath, you can put it away or maintenance it or exchange or whatever you do without going into your system. You can even do it without stopping your system. In the case that you want to use an existing board and just hook on the I/O pins, you have to shut down your system before you do that. It's a practical question, and I think from practical point of view, it makes more sense to use a Teensy, which is small. And
like an embedded unit,
embedded
right?
unit, yeah. To see that the climate control as a complete device by itself, and maybe
but you cannot stop me. You cannot stop me to play a little bit about that.
Of course,
go ahead with it. I think it will be a good experience, and to see how much performance it will kill.
Interesting.
Use what you have on hand. Use what you have on hand and get some experience with that.
That's what I love you, and that's why I hate the Richard.
Thank you. Okay, next one. I'd say Lionel just came on with your camera, so I'd say Lionel, it's your stage. No, muted. No, you're still muted. I cannot unmute you. You have to unmute yourself. No, in Discord we still see the symbol that you are unmuted. That you're muted, sorry. No. Okay. Sort your things out, Lionel. We can go on with someone else if you want to. Okay, he has to sort things out. Yeah, maybe.
Hey guys, I need to stepping out. I need to go to take some parts. I will be back in a 15 minutes, half hour, whatever.
No problem. Don't forget to take your dog.
No, dog staying in here. Don't worry about it. Okay, talk to you later.
See you. Bye.
See you.
See you.
So, Jannik, while we're waiting for Lionel, let's say you can shortly discuss your idea of the documentation that we discussed today. So, your stage.
Yes, okay. So we just talked today, Richard, Christian and me, we talked about this documentation that we are planning, which is like a developer manual. And maybe I just share my screen quickly.
Please.
Let's see. Does that work? That's something else. I'm skipping over to this manual here. So we were talking about what we want to have in this developer manual, and we, I think, came to the conclusion that we want to have some kind of a knowledge base, which contains all the information that is needed to reproduce the station that we are building, including the software. And so it should include all the knowledge that you need to do that, and everything else, maybe concerning the theoretical background, that we should include that via hyperlinks, for example, to other pages and stuff. And concerning the code, we will link to the GitHub repositories and so on. So, but this will be a document where, when someone has questions how something works, can just look it up, and it will be a PDF. And I think we will put it onto the ClickUp site, I guess. And the idea was that everyone all of the developers who have some text that is explaining the module that they are working on can send it to me, and I'm going to include it in the document. Was that right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
First things first, today we were talking about the idea, what is the documentation for us, for Sky 360, what does it mean? And yeah, we came to the conclusion, as Jannik already said, that it should be a knowledge base in a sense that is always on the latest status of development and the system as a whole thing. So without iterations, only presenting the latest release status. It should incorporate, in either case, to the two strands, let's say the hardware strand and the software strand, with some overlaps, of course. But on the third strand, we also want to see the theory behind it. And of course, in parallel, we can also explain why we do it and the kind of introduction. So these are the 3 or 4 major strands that can be filled. So the idea is that, as Jannik already said, that every developer who produces material, let's say visuals, tables, text, whatever have you, send it over to Jannik, and he will sort it out and put it in. And every time you have an update of that, just drop it to Jannik and he will update it. The idea is that only Jannik does it for now, just to keep things as simple as possible. We do not want to have several people work on the same document. That could make it complicated or confuse things. So we think that it's a good point that Jannik is the go-to guy for all your data and things you produce. Not talking about the source code, talking about visuals or results or some text describing things. So whatever have you, drop it to Jannik and he will implement it in.
Yeah,
that's from
right.
my side. Christian, a note on that?
Yeah, I agree with that. That's what we talked about. And maybe to add something to that, we were talking about including, let's say, theory. By that we meant to include describing text is like, let's say, what formula do we use, but we don't want to include discussions whether this method is better than another one. Just the description, what we use and why.
Mhm.
And not discussing, let's say, okay, you can use that type of optics, or is a mirror better than a lens, or so. But the basic stuff, why we're using a mirror, because of the size, you can produce as much more easily. This argumentation we will include, but not the discussion about different things.
Right. So, should we talk about this any further, or are there any comments regarding that?
No comments yet.
Because okay, because when I'm already sharing my screen now, I can also show another thing that I was working on last week,
Okay, go ahead.
maybe. And this is the weather map, basically. And I have something to discuss about that because so this is based on Leaflet. That is a package where you can make maps, online maps with, and it's based on the Open Weather Map API, and it's JavaScript, CSS, and HTML based. So I hope that's gonna be fine to include in the GUI.
Mhm.
And there's one thing that I noticed is when you zoom in pen on this map. So we currently see the temperature. It's not like highly local temperature data, but I guess it's fine. You can also switch on other things like the cloud layers and so on, wind speed, and everything that might be interesting to you. But when you start zooming and panning, it does a lot of requests to the API, and that exceeds the limits of the free API version very quickly. And I did that last week a little bit, zooming and panning around because I was curious, and my key was blocked like half an hour later, saying that I exceeded the limits by a lot. Basically, the limit is 60 requests per minute. And so the only solution that I know I came up with now would be, if we want to include that in the GUI, we would need to disable the panning and zooming option, basically. So it would be centered on the station, maybe with a circumference of 10 kilometers or something like that. And then you could also add other layers to it, so like air traffic stuff, and other information we might be interested in. So that would be one solution. Or the other solution would be, we want a map where you actually can zoom and pan as a user, but then we actually probably cannot include the weather layer. So we would include air traffic, maybe the position of satellites or something like that. And the user could actually zoom and pan, assuming that the other APIs are not so restrictive concerning the number of requests that you can do. So that would be something that I think we need to discuss, what kind of option you want. So do you want a static map, basically? You have weather data plus maybe air traffic information, satellite information, something like that. Or do you want, which is static, or do you want to have the ability to pan and zoom where you want and look at different kinds of data, but not the weather data, basically?
I have a question, Jannik. Does the API give the possibility to download, let's say, in intervals, the whole world for weather data. Let's say if we do this every 3 hours or so, just to download it to one of our servers and then take that material. Would that make
Well, you
sense?
have to the limitation is concerning the weather data and not I think the map data. So what you get so the basic map is requested from the leaflet package, and I didn't get the limitation alert from that, but I got the limitation alert from the Open Weather Map API.
From the
And
API.
since you have to, you always want to have the current weather, you sort of,
What is the size of
Yeah.
weather data you can download or can call from via the API at once?
so the limit that I broke, basically, that was 60 requests per minute.
Yeah, but this is a
But there might be
question of-
other limitations that I haven't looked up yet. So
But what's the geographic size that you can call via one API call?
I don't know yet. I have to check.
So my idea is, could you, let's say, for regions, I don't know, let's say there are 100 regions in the world. I don't know how this weather data is structured. I'm just thinking out loud now. So if there are 100 regions and the weather data is available for the regions, we call this once every 3 hours, all the 100 regions, and store them locally on our server somewhere, and then just take that for representing here. In that case, you wouldn't call the API towards the source of the weather data, but only the layer from our server. Would that work?
Hey, yeah, interesting idea. I would need to look into that because I don't know that kind of detail yet.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I've got another question. Why would we need pen and zoom? The weather data, okay, yes. What weather data do we need? Let's say temperature, wind, cloud coverage, maybe rain and fog. This is interesting because it helps us do some kind of forecast for if you have cloud coverage. I think cloud coverage will be the most interesting part. Because then you can predict if the all sky cam or the pan tilt zoom cam can see anything.
Right. Currently, so this map doesn't include a forecast yet, and I have to check if we could make it work. So this is what I found here. This is a repository that I just checked out, and the repository that I'm using here is only displaying current weather. So I would need to check if I can include other layers like forecast, forecast weather, and so on.
Okay, basically, what weather data is reasonable?
Yeah, I think it would not be a big disadvantage if we would have a static map centered on the station of the user, and that's it, like with a circumference of 10 kilometers or so.
I would say it should include the next neighbors.
Guys,
the next neighbor
sorry,
stations.
May I interrupt on that? We were talking about a view in the user interface, right? It is called now the global map because the purpose of that view is so that you not only see where you are in Braunschweig, for example, your station, but you also see the neighbor stations. In that case, you have to zoom out and pan around the world.
Yeah.
And if you are interested in, okay, I saw an event, or my station recognized an event, where did it trace further on? So what other stations get the same event or got events at the same time frame? So in that case, you have to zoom and pan a lot. So I think this is one of the imperatives here. The global map should always be global and not only reduced to your local surroundings.
No, these are two different maps. This is the one that's showing the weather, and
Yeah.
what good is it that you can zoom and pan in a weather map, because the weather map is interesting for your and your neighbor stations, but I think they are two different maps. The one where you can see what station may have picked up the data to is a different map. And it
Should we have two different maps in the GUI?
I don't see two
Or-
different maps in the GUI. It makes things complicated. Why should we? There's one map. It's the global map. It's just one planet.
You could have the global map, and then you can click on a link right above it, and it could pop up the weather map on top of it, as a second view within a view. Not going to a separate page, but you just click on a link, and the weather
But
map
it's a
should
different map.
Why not a layer?
Why not a layer? Right.
Okay, then we should skip the pan and zoom part.
No. This is just
Only for the overlay with the weather,
skipping
because we
the
do not
zoom.
need any.
Skipping the zoom and pan is only due to restrictions from the API. I mean, why should we not do something because one provider doesn't allow for? We can surround this, circle around this very easily.
No, my question was a different one. Where do we need a pan zoom for the weather?
Look, if I have an event in my station and I want to see whether this is in Hanover or in Wolfsburg, there are other stations. What situations is there? Do they have rain there? Do they have thunderstorm? Is there anything to be seen? Or could it be that my event also traveled to Wolfsburg, although there was a thunderstorm and the station did not record it? I could come up with millions of ideas why this could be valuable. I think it is, if we start having a layer for weather, then it should be global. And if the API does not provide that on a on-click base, then the workaround could be that we collect this every 3 hours on one of our servers on the cloud somewhere and take that as a source. So it's updated every 3 hours, and you can decide 1 hour, 3 hours. I mean, how fast does weather change?
Both AccuWeather and Weather Channel provide a service, stream service for weather like that.
Yeah,
I don't know the cost. I'm sorry?
To regions, not globally.
I'm not sure. I'll have to ask my friend. I got a friend that's been working there for 20 years. He's a chief engineer there. I'll ask him how that service works, because he's the one that actually built the streaming capability to allow you to stream to anywhere in the world, the weather, and they'll put it up on a lower third on the bottom. You can insert it just as an overlay, like we were just talking. I don't even know what the cost is. It may be cost prohibitive for us.
Yeah, that's most of the time the point, that what you can do for free is much more limited than what you can do when you have a subscription. But I mean, that sounds like a great contact, so could be very helpful actually.
So Tommy, if you can post to Jannik your contact or somehow bring that knowledge into Jannik's realm. But I think it is, Christian, sorry to object here. I think it's imperative to have a global map. And if that global map exists and you see all the other stations and their local events and when the last event was, when your event took place and so forth, then you also need this feature of seeing the weather, any kind of layer. Whether it's
but it's a lot of traffic that's causing.
It's a lot of traffic if you update it in the second when the user clicks or pans. It is not if you store everything, let's say, in an interval of 3 hours on our local server, for example. And maybe there are 50
3 hours.
megabytes and okay, you can talk on 1 hour, but the thing is that you do not request via those providers, the API providers, on a per-click event, but only on a once every 3 hours. That's why we could have no costs, because we do it so rarely, actually, and still provide the service that is needed on our side. And for forecast, I really question that, because we are scanning, the station is scanning automatically, and it does not need have a forecast. Why should the user in the global map have a forecast? I just questioned it.
A forecast for the cloud coverage, let's say for the next half an hour.
For what purpose?
Maybe a good information, because if you take a look at it and see, oh yeah, some clouds are coming up, maybe I can't detect the event in any longer, or looking for something else, then I can switch or ask the next station if it can use the pan tilt zoom for a bit. This could be a solution.
I also have a good reason why you should be able to have a little bit of weather forecasting.
Okay.
I think that's probably because of where I live in Texas. We have a lot of bad weather, tornadoes, hurricanes, and you might want to get a little notification that something's coming, if just in case you haven't seen the local news, so that way you can bring your Sky 360 station indoors or cover it, because we do have a lot of severe weather out here.
That's a good point.
That is something we have the weather alerts for that. So I'm imagining that if we get a weather alert for your position, that you maybe have a little symbol in your GUI, like a exclamation mark or something like that, a big red one maybe, where when you click on it, you can read what the weather alert is, and then okay, a hurricane is coming up or something like that. I need to get my station
These
secured.
notifications are filtered down to regions?
Yeah, that would be just for the position where the individual station is located.
Okay.
Yeah,
And
and that's a different API that I'm using for that.
Okay.
Even better, maybe a notification, by Discord or text, especially for something like a tornado, because those happen, instantly, no notice. So.
Yeah.
Good point. Okay,
yeah,
Jannik.
But that's a different API that I'm using for that kind of stuff. So.
I think this is the perfect time for me to interject and say that this is a conversation I've had with two developers, two graphic artists. We don't have enough information listed on the site that wants to that gives them the information they need to build something. So, for example, what kind of telemetry information and where is it going to come from? Are we looking for the obvious things? But now you're talking about weather. So if you're going to talk about a layout, we've got to incorporate, is that going to be one giant layout and then we'll have layers where things will pop up in the background? Or will it be just like Paul's set up right now, where you've got the fisheye and you've got maybe PTZ up here, maybe weather map here, so forth and so on. So the information is just, there's not enough there. We need to give them direction, a little bit more direction.
I think we sent that with the Excel file.
I guess so too.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Did I miss that? I just saw the instructions, which was just really simple. Let me look at it again.
There's a PDF file. The PDF file is the basis. There you see the data elements.
Okay. Okay, I'll go back and look at that.
Okay. Hey Jannik, a question to you. Can you can you check for this idea to catch a worldwide weather data every 3 hours?
Yep.
Can you think through it and yeah,
Yeah.
maybe come up with
I
an...
try to work something out. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Perfect.
Can we come back to the question what weather data we actually need? Let's say, do we need temperature?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, we have a set of weather variables right here currently, so it includes clouds, precipitation.
Yeah.
For some
but-
reason, it differentiates between precipitation and rain. I mean, I guess precipitation includes rain and snow, so you have rain also and snow, and wind speed and pressure. So that's what we currently have. Do we need anything else, or should I exclude something of that? I don't know. That's
Yeah,
basically
that's my question. Do we need all the data, or will it help us to reduce traffic if we just reduce us to weather data that will help us for anything?
That might be the case, yes.
And what weather data will that be? Okay, having the dew point is an interesting information, maybe. Having the temperature too. Having the pressure,
Yes.
yes. Wind, of course. Cloud coverage, of course. What else do we have?
Hey Jannik,
Okay.
Jannik, can you zoom
Humidity
into
forecast.
the legend here? It's very tiny, and is this possible? Make a
yeah.
screenshot and enlarge it or so. Screenshot,
Yeah,
EFF
maybe.
view, and zoom in.
And,
Let's see.
Or you can zoom with your mouse wheel normally.
No, it
Pressing
zooms the
control.
map,
Okay,
not the
wait.
legend.
I just did a screenshot, but I have to stop sharing my screen and switch to the other one, I guess.
Okay.
Just,
Yeah.
this one?
Yeah, perfect. Thank you. Oh, this is much better.
Yeah. So these are the weather variables that we have, and the languages, by the way.
Yeah.
They are different.
And wind speed
Yeah.
includes direction, I assume.
No, it doesn't. But we have a so-called wind rose. When you zoom into the cities a little bit more, you get the direction also.
Okay. Does it use this symbolicity of wind, where you have arrows and little stripes on the side indicating what level of wind strength it is, like for sailing maps? How does that look like?
No, it just shows the direction currently as.
And the length
when
is
I'm
representing the velocity.
No, currently it is not doing that.
Okay.
I think the it's a color scheme so it's not a the current implementation is not a traditional meteorological symbol. So I would need to share my screen, a different screen again, if you want to see
Yeah,
how
go
it
ahead.
looks like.
Why not? Do it. Do it.
Okay, let's. Yeah, just a second. So that looks like that. You see the green arrows? And I think the darker the green, the stronger the wind, or something like that. I'm not sure, because the legend for that is missing. So I have to. That's not something I made, so I just picked it up. So maybe we need to modify it a little bit. But that's how it looks in the default.
Yeah, at least there's an indication
state, basically.
for wind direction.
So some kind of vector field.
Yeah, sort of, yes. Yeah, exactly.
And resulting error. Okay.
Yeah.
And Jannik, couple of
Yes.
weeks ago, you mentioned that difference in temperature layers up in altitude could create some luminous phenomenon?
Yes, I mean there's some documentation about that in the UFO literature, and I looked it up. So it can temperature inversions.
So could we identify temperature inversions on top of our station?
Yeah, I need to look into that because it's possible with so-called reanalysis data, and this is weather data from weather models that are corrected by weather observations in hindsight.
Okay.
And with that, it's gridded data, and the only question is, how can we automate getting this kind of data for every location that we are interested in? And when we are interested in that, I think yes, it makes sense to look into that. I have to work on that, how to automate that, because I'm not aware currently of any APIs, but there should be APIs that can do this. So
And those luminous phenomenon, is that what is talked about as a ball lightning?
no, it's something. It's an optical phenomenon that is not, as far as I know, related to ball lightning. It's
More like Fata Morgana.
it has to do with the refractive index of the atmosphere and how it changes with height, and it is related to this phenomenon that's called Fata Morgana. So, for example, when you look to
So
the
that is-
horizon,
Yeah.
when you look to the
We call it
horizon,
seeing.
No, seeing is something different, Christian. Seeing
No,
is
it isn't.
It shatters your field.
Yes.
What
So-
Jannik is
Yeah.
describing is a reflection of something that's
yeah,
far behind the horizon, for example, but it's reflecting
Yeah.
on a layer on top of it.
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
but it belongs to that.
Okay, to the
Okay.
realm of seeing.
So-
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. For example, when there's on the sea, when there's a ship behind the horizon, you might be seeing
Flying.
a mirror image of that ship.
Yeah.
Basically above the horizon, and it could look like a UAP or anything like that, something like that. And so there's always some people coming up with that kind of argument that it's probably just something like that, but this happens only under very specific atmospheric conditions. And when we can exclude these atmospheric conditions, we can say no, it just isn't possible that it was that in the observation that we have made. So
Yeah, and we can check the observation by running some kind of fuzzy detector, because this is related to the refraction change of the air, and so such an image, because of the change, gets blurry. And then we can say, okay, what blurriness do we have? And could it be related to the inversion phenomena? Yeah, good point. So we have a possibility to analyze it.
Yeah,
in
exactly.
hindsight, on historic events. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, Jannik, anything else? Then
No, I guess that was it.
perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Yeah, you're welcome.
When I say thank you, I'm not thanking you behalf of myself, behalf of every one of us, of course. So Lionel, go ahead. Your
Okay.
stage.
Let's go. Here. No. Okay, share screen. Okay. Okay.
Ooh, okay.
Okay, so the full screen. So yeah, okay. So for the past weeks, so I did some classifications and then some prediction on some data that I more or less generated myself. So this past week, I've been working on a single dataset for all the tracks that I have on the training data that you guys have provided me with. So that's the hard drive, the Google Drive, the Dropboxes. And I gathered all tracks into a single table. But there's a major bummer, is that there's no timestamps on the bounded box. So speed cannot be determined on all the data that's already been processed. But okay, it's a one-line change of code. I'll submit a pull request for that on a simple tracker, so that can be reviewed and assessed. And just having the timestamp on the bounded box would allow to determine speed. Maybe I can work on the timestamp from the video, but that's harder. Well, I think it would be harder. So okay, so I've been building this Excel file, not this one, this one. So those are all the raw tracks, and so there's some tracks. See the coordinates x and y's, they don't move. So that's one problem. Another, well, that's probably some tracks that have to be discarded from the training data set. And then there's some valid tracks where all of a sudden let's say the x or the y's, they stop moving. So in the azimuth calculation, you end up with some data such as this. So 270 degrees, that's when it moves horizontally. Or 0 degrees, that's when it moves down. See, the y's don't move, it's just the x's that move. So that's 0 degree azimuth. So that's a problem. I'll elaborate on this problem just a bit later, because I have other questions about how to use the azimuth as a parameter for classification. Okay, then I end up with something like this. That's a good track. That's a good track. That's the best, some of the best looking data that I've had. So that's this one track. So a long string of bounded boxes. I get the x and y's coordinate, and I can always have a valid speed and nearly always a valid azimuth change. Except here where it moves vertically, and here where it moves horizontally. And then also you see that it's quite erratic. So I think that to end up with some, see the changes, I plotted the change in distance. So that's this column here. and the change in direction, that's this column. So you see that it's erratic. And I'm going to show you just now the actual video for this event. So that's, I don't know what it is, but it's a clear sky with some objects, some actual object flying, and it makes a smooth curve, turns around nicely. So this object, it does actually, I think it actually does change direction. So that's why I have a curve here. But then to be able to use that data for classification, I think I should have something smoother, like what Jannik did. So I had my track here, and I submitted that same data to Jannik, and you have to explain to me how you get that moving average. Well, I could probably look it up too. But I think that's the way to go to smooth everything, because the model is not going to. I think the model is going to work fine with some smooth data. That's just the intuition I have.
Yeah, so this is just the moving average about the orange line is for 5 frames, I think, and the green line is for 10 frames. So I just did it with some NumPy function. I have to
cool. Okay,
I have to look
I
it up.
look it up. No, don't
Okay.
worry. I look it up. That's
Okay.
that's fine. Should probably be able to work it out. But
Yeah.
one important thing in that slide is that that's an airplane. It's a tiny airplane, but that really is a straight line. The airplane, it doesn't change direction, and you see that it's curved because it's
Official.
away from the center. So there's some skewing going on in the frame, and the farther away from the center, I think the stronger the skew would be.
Yep.
Yeah.
If something flew across the center, I think then we would have a straight line across the screen, but
Exactly.
it's always going to be a little bit distorted. So for this, I don't know how I'm going to handle it just now, but I included, again, reusing some function from you, Jannik. I included the distance from center in the aggregation per track. So the aggregation per track. Okay, so that's all the aggregate I have that I plan to use, and I tell you which kind of aggregation I have, because for me, I'm just working on intuition. I think this is going to work. This represents reality. This does not. So in order to so my current goal now is just the classification, just to discard the junk data. So the count, so first aggregate is the count of frame per track. Second aggregate, and for this type, I choose average, the average distance from the center. But that's already, that might not be right, because let's say you're traveling from here to here, from this corner to the center, then the average might not be the way to go. But
I also don't know what you mean with average.
Yeah.
Do you mean
the
average
average
across?
for every bounded box, I mean the average distance between the bounded box and the center of the image.
But over how many frames? Over the whole movie,
So for
or
every frame, let me show you.
for every frame?
For every frame, yeah. For every frame, I have a distance from the center.
You mean the spatial average?
What is the purpose of the average distance? You want to compensate for the curve?
No. I just want to have some data to use in classification.
I see.
Because after the classification, then I want to do some prediction. But now I just want to make some classification. So any parameter I can have, I put it there.
Yeah, so basically, what are good predictors, right? That's the question.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking at. I'm wondering. So the average distance from the center. So that's this column here.
So that it's a weight for you, the distance from center.
Yeah, I don't know at this point what weight it is, but could be a weight.
Yeah.
I don't know. Could
Got
be.
it.
I haven't run the classification on this.
So you can say a reliability on the data point.
Sorry. Yeah, that's.
For example.
It's like area, the area of the bounded box. It's just some way to put some metadata on the data, and I think that the classification should work on metadata.
So the area is what you call now a metadata, which
Yeah,
it's something that you calculate, which is not part of the track, but you calculate from the track.
Yeah, exactly.
It's certainly interesting because it changes. For example, if a bird flies over, it can change the shape of the bounding box by every flap it does.
Yeah. You see, well, this I think is a bird, and you see that the area changes. I think it's a bird because it changes direction. See, it's a fast change of direction, so I think it's a bird. And like you say, there's a big change in area across the track.
A plane can also bank and then change in the area.
Sure.
But more slowly, I assume.
But at this point, I think that with this, I think I'm just going to be able to discard some data to have some good data. So what I think is that anything that flies is good data. And like tree leaves on the side that moves, they also create bounded box. So that's what I would want to discard with this.
Yeah.
Can you explain to me what you mean with distance? How do you calculate distance from which point? From start of the track, or is this traveling distance?
Okay. Distance is always there's distance from the center, and the distance is in relation to the previous point. So
Okay,
it's in pixel, right?
Euclidean distance between this and this.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
So you take the center of the image as a reference point and calculate the distance to the object from the center of the image.
That's from that's this column, distance from the center.
Yeah.
And this distance, this is
From
distance
frame.
from this XY coordinate to this XY coordinate.
did you take a look on how the tilt angle of the camera takes into account? If the Dahua camera isn't mounted exactly parallel to the ground, then the Zenit will have another position according to the center of the image.
No.
Christy, this is sophisticated.
No, I haven't considered that.
I mean, he's using the distance from center only as a weight to say that things that are closer to the center have more reliability, let's say. And the other thing...
Yeah, because the image isn't distorted that much.
Yeah, exactly.
Fisheye optics get more distorted
yes, of course.
The more you get to the edge.
Yes, of course, but it is independent of whether the fisheye is leveled horizontally or even tilted.
Yeah.
The geometry of the optic is still the same. So
and maybe we can use a water lens or something like that. I don't know if that's the right word to level. So have it included in the enclosure or something to make sure that the user can level it.
We already have the with motion controller, which gives you how it is leveled.
Okay. Yeah.
So there's already bankroll and what's the third one? Yaw values. By this you can even, when you mount your station and watch these roll pitch, these values, these 3 angles, then you can already level your station so that you get all this on zeros.
Yeah.
But it doesn't matter, because if the PDZ camera is in the same enclosure, it will be it will also be tilted. So it's
it's intrinsic in itself. So it's just if you want to level it out because of whatever external triangulations, for example. I'm coming back to the question to the distance. Lionel, the distance from frame to frame, so it starts from 4, 9, 10, 1, 9, 10, 1, 7, 8, and so forth. And that's what you shown in your graph on the right side. So if this is the distance from frame to frame from the bounding boxes, that tells us something, doesn't it? If, let's say, if you take a plane and the plane flies straight, no matter directly over the zenith or in a curveball, no matter of that, because the gradient from frame to frame should be more or less the same, because a plane flies on a typical velocity and doesn't change that. If you see something of high differences in distances, and it runs from 1 to 10 pixels, I think the unit is, then it must be something that changes also shape during its move. For example, a bird that flies and flaps produces a different bounding box if the wings are spread compared to when the wings are close to its body. So it could be that this, what you see here, this zigzagging, it's flapping. Or is it too frequent from your point of view?
I think it's due to processing lag. I think it's the program when it runs. It's not the flow of frame. I think it's not constant. I think that's why the distance moves.
Do you take the distance? Excuse me.
I'm just going back to this slide. So this I divided to get the blue lines here. I divided the distance by the timestamp. And the timestamp of the output, it's very accurate, and I think it's just that the computer I think it's what I mean is I think it's IT problems. I don't think it's anything reality based.
When you calculate the distance, do you take it from bounding box vector or from center of the bounding box?
From XY, from the first two entry in the bounding box list. So I don't calculate the center of the bounding box.
Yeah, that's the point for me. When you compare this with the size, the area, for example, no, area is maybe not the right one, but the size of the bounding box. So the bounding box varies, and what you marked here are the vector to the bounding box, which is, let's say, lower left, bottom left edge vector. Node, vertex. That's the point.
I think what would be right to do is to calculate the center of mass of the bounding box each time instead of X and Y.
That's what I meant.
Okay.
Because anytime, if from
problem.
frame to frame the size of the bounding box changes, you certainly have a kind of an overlaying oscillation in that.
Yeah, that induces oscillation as well. You're right. Okay, and okay, so I allocate that. That's a good point. And now I have also something where I need you guys input on, because I don't have the. I'm sure you guys would know how to do. Is that when I speak about azimuth, so 359 degrees and 1 degree, that's very close. But when I'm going to use that as a parameter for classification, it's going to be very far.
Why is direction part of the classification? You mean something that flies to north is something different than something that flies to the west?
Yeah, I would think so.
I think the point is directional changes, right? The changes in direction per time, basically.
Yeah.
So if you have a lot of directional changes per time, it's probably something else than something that does with very few directional changes per time. So I think that would be a good predictor to classify things.
Yeah, and in any case, that would be well. I think that direction is a good criteria to classify, but the problem is I don't know how to work with it because of its nature of 359 is very close to 1. So I don't know how to put that into a variable that will work for classification.
So first of all, Lionel, I wouldn't use absolute values. Jannik is totally right. You should use differentials. That's the only thing that really matters here.
Okay.
So if you calculate the gravity points of each bounding box and you connect such a vertex, a vector, with the next frame, and you get the vector between those gravity points, and that direction change from frame to frame. So the delta of that should be, let's say, if it is a bird, you should see maybe flaps to the right, flaps to the left, flaps to the right, flaps to the left. So that would, from my point of view, it would be a bird. If it's only one direction that changes gradually, that's more like a plane.
So indeed, I saw that function in pandas, person change. I don't know if anybody's got experience with that.
Person change, yeah.
What is it?
There's an aggregate function called person change in pandas.
What is pandas?
It's like a Python library to work on tables.
Okay.
It's like a database kind of. No? But okay, I look into that. But like you say, I totally agree. Should not work on absolute values in direction, but in terms of differentials or changes. Yeah, that's the way to go. I hope it will work for me. What else? Yeah, I want to talk about. Yeah, you're right that east to west or west to east or north to south should not be a differentiator. Area, we went over that. So I'm going to request to add the timestamp to the bounded box. And then just to set the roadmap for me, so my own personal roadmap. So I showed you this graph on data that I generated myself. So I plan to have that same kind of analysis on actual data. That's the first step. I don't know when that will work. And then also given some data, I could train a neural network to predict the track. So that's the red track here. So the goal is to use those clusters to have some good data to train that predictor. So that's my own goals.
What thoughts do you have about the for the prediction? Will it be just degrees, or can we narrow it down to arc minutes?
That's a calculation, Christian. Degrees to arc minutes.
If the data for the track is just as good as degrees, then we do not have to. Yeah, if it's just reasonable to use degrees, then the interception path that can be calculated for the PTZ is very, very rough.
Yeah.
And if we can do that in arc minutes, because our lowest resolution will be 1 arc minute, it's much more accurate, and the calculated interception path for the PTZ is much better.
But I would say this is a task to the master control program. The master control program is the one sending the PTZ somewhere. I think what Lionel is doing, the classification of its moving behavior, is something in itself.
Yeah, but we can inherit information from that.
He's doing it, and I think it doesn't make sense to overload his calculations. He gets degrees very easily by using sinus, cosinus, without any further why should he go into arc minutes and seconds? I don't see a benefit
Would something like
of that.
Angular acceleration be a value?
Yeah, that's what you see by the differentials of, let's say, the angle taken from its path. So does it bend inwards?
Or let's say that's the differential from the distance, right? That could be interesting too, yeah. Acceleration.
Yeah.
Yeah, I imagine you could do first, second, third order for the displacement as well to get some rough velocity estimate, and then acceleration and jerk. But at that point,
Anyway,
I'm not there yet.
don't know.
No, how much? The question is, how much does the distance change from frame to frame, right? If there's a large change, then that would be interesting, probably.
Yeah, no matter what, what Lionel works on is local values. It doesn't. We do not transform them to global values. So everything that is used on global values, let's say sending the PT set somewhere, it doesn't make sense for Lionel to incorporate that already. So he's working on local data, on a local geometric of the fisheye, and doesn't, from my point of view, doesn't make sense to have absolute values here. So we can't derive speed, real speed, with just one fisheye. It's impossible. But he can do, let's say, local speed variances, detect variances, and by that classify it as high variances, maybe a bird, low variances, maybe a plane, something like that.
But I think it doesn't make sense to go for arc minutes precision and at the beginning. So at the beginning we should be happy if we are in a range of 1 degree or half a degree, and then we can improve it.
That's my point.
After many iterations, maybe we will end up with some arc minutes, but we also have undefined lagging in the data stream. So if we have some lagging of maybe 1 second in the data in our stream data, then it doesn't make sense to go for arc minutes or whatever.
For me, the question is different, Wolfgang. The question for me is whether this information is used at that particular place and time. What Lionel is working on is local coordinate system within pixels, and everything is fictitious, let's say, fictitious to the fisheye. And for me, it doesn't make sense to make it more complex in going into other dimensions, into arc seconds, arc minutes, where it's not usable. There's no benefit here. Of course, Christian, I see your goal, but the benefit is when an event is taken and then the MCP is recalculating it into global values, so to set the PT set for it too.
No, my point was a little bit different. My point was if we can inherit some information from this vectorization analysis and use it later, then the accuracy is a point. If the accuracy that we can achieve in this analysis is only degrees, then we can skip that, and we do not have to inherit, and we have to do the analysis for the movement path on a different level. That was my point. So if we are just bound to degrees, then it's a very, very rough value that we get.
Yes,
and we do not have to focus on arc minutes.
But it's still a float value.
Yeah.
So I don't see anything.
The precision is down too.
Why?
Because
from a local data set of pixels.
Yeah, if it is too rough, we can skip that part. That was my point. You do not have to do it in arc minutes.
What do you mean is too rough? You mean calculating degrees from pixels?
Yes, because we have got pixel size in let's say 1 pixel is 1 arc minute, and if the vectorization and the vectorization speed just allows degrees and not some percentage of a degree, then we can skip the whole point in doing it in arc minutes.
But sorry to say, he has already degrees, percentages of this degree, because he's in his base, and that's the only base Lionel has, is an image, a frame, and it's represented by pixels. And if you calculate a vector from some pixels to another pixel, then you can calculate the degree from this, and you calculate the degree from this. You can then go on to and say, oh, I want to convert this into arc seconds just to whatever reason.
Yeah, that's not the point that you can convert it.
Yeah, but it doesn't become more accurate by this.
I think we should talk about the size of the error.
Now for the Dahua camera, we have 14 arc minutes per pixel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry guys, that does not care. I don't care about this. How big a pixel is. For Lionel's work, he gets frames and he gets coordinates of pixels. He doesn't have more. Anything you put on it to get more out of it is just that's the data source he has. Doesn't make sense to make it more complicated.
I think all the tracking can be done on pixel values, on XY pixel values, and then as a last step, then you convert it to degrees.
Exactly.
That would be my approach.
To arc seconds and so forth when you need it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
But not during the algorithm that Lionel is developing.
Yes.
Because it's a local data set he has. He cannot make it better than it is. Okay. Anyhow.
So only if you have a complete and validated track data, then before you give it to the PDZ camera, then you have to convert it to degrees and arc minutes and whatever.
My point was if the accuracy that we can get out of the vectorization is too rough, then we do not have to use it. Then we can't use it for calculating a movement path. That was my point.
Yeah, I got you where you are. No,
Okay,
Lionel is not working
because
on
we're stripping down the consumed performance of the vectorization.
Yeah, I get your point, Christian. But you are on a different page. It had nothing to do with Lionel's work, actually. What you are talking about is vectoring ahead, so to know when so let's say the PTZ takes 2 seconds until the meeting point, and to vector that ahead, where will the object be in 2 seconds, kind of.
Yes,
so,
and and my question was, can we use this step of vectorization that Lionel does at the moment to inherit information for later use?
I think it does not make sense at that point, because you have to recalculate it when the event is recognized as such. So it is afterwards. What Lionel does is he does the preparation step, the pre-classification actually.
Of course.
Yeah. So
the result of that is whether the PTZ should be moved and so forth.
Yes. And my question was, can we inherit from that, or are the calculations and the detections too rough for it? So if it is too rough, because we can't get to a certain accuracy level, then we can skip this thought of inheriting from the vectorization for the classification.
I think you do not win anything by this
if we can use the data, then it saves time.
I guess, Christian, you put load on a place at Lionel's part where it is not needed.
Yeah, of course.
No, but it's good that you say that, because I think that we can I can, when I have that training data, my goal is to have a prediction, and I can then give you a measure of loss or accuracy on the prediction for 1 second ahead, for 2 seconds ahead, and I'll
That's what I wanted to know.
provide that. Okay, but that's I'm not there yet.
My question was if you can see the point, if you had that in mind, and what your thoughts are about that, if it is possible to use that.
Well, I was certainly planning to provide a measure of accuracy, but that's on the next step. That's on the the track prediction step.
This is the answer to my question.
Not on the classification step.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
But on this one step, that's definitely, and that 2 second parameter, that's good. I didn't have that in mind. That's good that you say that.
Yeah. Okay. This is the answer to my question.
Okay.
You're planning on using it as accuracy monitor, let's say. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good
Some
point.
second
Yeah.
ahead. Yeah, okay, that's good.
Yeah. That's good.
One point, Lionel, you say you make a pull request to.
No, I haven't done it yet, but
Yeah.
I already made the code change. It's one line. It's one line on
Yeah.
a simple tracker.
Yeah.
I'll make the commit and pull request as soon as I can, and so you guys can review it.
Okay. Can you add something? For example,
Sure.
what Mike's code is putting out is that there are movements at the edge of the fisheye camera. Let's say if a plane flies out of bounds, he keeps in his code the bounding box still alive at the edge. So
Well,
my
I
question
seen
is that
some negative values.
yeah, that's why the negative values exactly. He should
Okay.
kill the bounding box when it reaches, I don't know, 1 pixel close to the edge, something like this.
Yeah, it's
I don't know how you describe it, but the meaning is
that.
that Mike's code shall kill a trace or stop a trace when it reaches the edge. So it does not stop there and you generate for the next 5-6 frames bounding boxes where there is no object anymore.
Well, like this guy here.
Yeah, exactly. The
This.
zeros and the minus ones, yeah. So
Yeah.
that you have a more
Okay.
consistent data set.
No, it's not going to be one line then.
2 lines.
I don't know. I don't know. Okay, so that's it for me.
Okay, so how long with time? With 10 minutes left, so I'd say Wolfgang wanted to present something to us. Lionel, you're still
Yes.
sharing. Can you stop sharing, please?
How you do that? Yeah. Okay.
So,
Stop
yeah,
streaming. There we
perfect.
go.
And
Okay.
Wolfgang, it's your stage.
Okay, so I try to keep it short. Okay.
You share screen?
Yeah, I try. Can you see it?
Yep, it's there.
Yeah, okay. So as some weeks ago, I ordered the Hua camera and the Nano, and then I started to play around. I wanted to see how it works out, if I can get a stream from the camera. And Lionel, can you please mute?
Sure.
Okay, thank you. It's disturbing me if I hear some children. Okay, so I'm trying to. I was trying to get some stream from the camera and so on. So I started playing and made a small Python script, and it turned out to be very successful after some days. Then I was trying to do some object detection and tracking and so on. And so here, can you see it? So here's the live view. So this is currently live, what my camera is seeing.
Mm-hmm.
So here you have the timestamps from the frame. So you see it's processing at 4 frames per second. And I'm not using any of the GPU or whatever, so only the Nano, the normal CPU. And so what I'm basically doing is to access the stream, and then I tried a different approach, which is used normally. So I'm not doing difference frames. So normally you are doing difference frames and make thresholding and clustering, and then you do some analysis. So what I'm doing is I'm detecting objects. So I make contours. So edge detection and then contours, and then I try to cluster them, and then I do some tracking and plausibilization. So I named this script compact tracker because it's only one script, only one file, only one Python file. So you only need a Nano with the standard Jetpack distribution, and you only need this file and the Dahua cam, nothing else. You need no drivers, no special packages, nothing. Only OpenCV and the standard Python NumPy and what is already pre-installed.
Wolfgang,
yeah.
what's creating the RTSP stream?
The camera.
What? The software?
No, the camera produces it.
The camera itself?
It's from the camera. It's for the live stream
okay.
from the camera. Here you can see that's the. So you only have to enter your password and so on and your IP address, and then you get the live stream. You could also use a video file maybe as input. This would also be possible, but I have not tried it.
Are you using is the camera by itself, or do you have a capture card with it?
No, I'm using only the camera. The camera is connected to the Nano. So the Nano and the camera are connected to a switch, and so it's directly. Yeah. So I don't, because we are already late. I don't
Wolfgang,
want to discuss.
What's your point?
Yeah. I don't want to discuss the software. I just want to show you some results I got. Maybe this is interesting.
So, tell me, what's your approach? Why did you choose that route?
So here, for example, you can see some days ago I detected this strange object here. That's some sort of airplane, but it doesn't look normal.
Where do we see it? Excuse me, we don't see what you're talking about. We see your code.
Okay.
Maybe you have to reshare.
Yeah, okay.
Stop sharing and reshare.
Okay. Oops. Okay. Can I share my whole screen?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, I can try. Okay. So, oops. Okay, now do you see the video player?
Nope. The stream is paused because you minimized your application. If you share your screen, select not the window, but the whole screen.
Okay.
Monitor.
Okay. This one. Okay, now.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Now we see.
So now you. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So here you can see the tracking. So I'm here in the lower left corner. You see a crop of the original video stream 1:1. So this original size. So this one is reduced in size, of course. And you see the object, and you see it's centered on the object, and this could already be used for PTZ camera. So of course not for arc minutes precision, but for maybe half of a degree.
What is this green crosses on the left side on a building?
That's also some objects it's detecting. So it's some, of course, there are no real objects, but yeah,
like a reflection. Reflection, right?
That's reflections or noise.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So I can also Yeah, here this is a bird, for example.
Drunk bird.
Yeah, that's so you see it's if it's going too fast, then it's losing it because there are some limits I have set for the object velocity, because I say it, if it's moving so fast, I cannot track it. So then it's losing the object.
That's the catch.
Yeah, and for example here, that's an airplane. Yeah, I think that's not so interesting. What I also have, detected the ISS.
Oh.
So here we have some
Are those
clouds,
clouds?
and this is the ISS.
Okay. And this with the Dahua, wow. Okay.
Yeah. I also have some footage without clouds. I think this one here, there are fewer clouds, and here you can see the ISS coming. So it's not detected from the start. So the algorithm still has to be improved, but
Can you, when you make, now I restart. Can
okay,
you, I saw two different tracks. One where you put a yellow line as one track, and in this last video we do not see the yellow line. Does that mean that you did not detect a track, meaning that you can say this is the same object of the frame before, so I combine this event?
Yes, only if the track is validated, then it gets yellow. So
I have question. How we know this is ISS? By trajectory or what?
Yes, I have validated it. So for example, if you for this one, this is the wrong one. So I checked it. Where do I have the pictures? So here I've validated.
Okay.
So the time was matching, and also the trajectory was matching for all three cases.
So we can have in a software a trajectory of ISS, right? Just make sure.
Yes,
we can have an overlay for any known satellite or object, even Starlink.
Oh. The ISS transmitting some kind of signal, no?
Yes,
Force
it is.
So, Wolfgang, a question. Are you still working on it? You want to rework it? Work further on it? Okay. So some suggestions. What is complicated is, of course, keeping track, so not to lose track. So to be elastic enough to let's say a track is interrupted by, let's say, a cloud, and suddenly the object shows up again. This elasticity, not to lose a track, not to let it be another track, so that it is still one and the same, although it is hidden behind a cloud, for example. Another thing that I've seen here, and it's the same issue with Mike's tracker, is that it takes some time until a detection of a moving object is satisfied enough to keep it as an object and track that. And this time is in your case, I think in your case as well as in Mike's case, too long. For example, if a plane comes in sight and flies overhead, then it takes, let's say, 4 seconds until the tracking starts. So the question is, yeah, go ahead.
It takes 10 frames. currently. So if you have 4 frames per second, so it takes about 2.5 seconds from the first detection of the object until you have a valid track.
So yeah, that's my point. To reduce this would allow also to have longer tracks, especially if things fly fast.
Yeah, the problem is that you need some points you need a number of points to validate the track, because if you only have 3 or 4 points, for example, then you're getting too many tracks.
Yeah.
So then you get a track for every piece of cloud, for example. So the main problem are the clouds. So if you have some moving clouds, then you have hundreds of objects which are moving, and you have to sort them out. Because otherwise you have many of tracks, and that's what we have to avoid.
Yes, of course, but you can keep some tracks, although they are tracks of clouds, and delete them from your stack afterwards when you recognize, oh, this was just a cloud, because it does not last longer than 5 frames, and then didn't show up again.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing. Yeah,
it's a tricky thing. The whole thing to adjust all these values. But it looks good. You're on a good way, on a good path.
Maybe I can show. Maybe I can show some.
Bojan, you want to say?
Yeah. How much ice in the clouds can make errors?
How much?
For example, here you can see. So there are moving clouds, and there are lots of objects. Hundreds of objects, basically.
This means ice, right?
What do you mean with ice?
Ice in a cloud. Crystal, ice crystals.
Ice crystals. You won't see them, would you? What is the purpose of your question, Bojan?
Purpose of my question: how much error we have on a reading when a cloud has ice crystal? This is my question.
You should ask Jannik about it.
Like hail?
Well, I don't know. I don't understand the question, so I can't answer to that.
I'm just thinking,
I think he's thinking that because ice is dense, that you get, and also reflective, that you get something from that, especially hailstorms, I guess.
First of all, we don't have the information.
Is the question related to the object detection or something?
Yeah, he wants to know how much error you're getting from false reading, fake news, from let's say during an ice storm when you've got a lot of dense hail in the area, or just not even an ice storm, just when the temperature is a lot colder up there and it's a lot warmer on the ground.
I don't know. I mean, we see here a lot of basically false signals, but I think it looks like Wolfgang has found a very good way to classify whether a track is valid or not valid, right?
Yeah,
so as I understand it, the yellow boxes.
Here you can see we have over 140 objects, but it's able to identify the birds as valid tracks.
That's the point, right? So you have a lot of objects, but you don't follow the objects because you have some kind of classification whether that is a false signal or a good signal, right?
And it's without any AI. It's only some lines of code.
some thresholds or something like that.
Yes. It's some filtering and
And whether it changes if you have ice clouds, we would need to see. But the thresholds you use seem to be pretty working pretty well, right?
It's not perfect. It can be improved further, but I think it's not so bad for the beginning. So
absolutely. Absolutely.
I made all this in 2 weeks.
Okay, it looks very promising. I think.
You certainly have to talk with Mike, and maybe you find common grounds in your codes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well done, Wolfgang.
So
Chapeau.
yeah, thank you. I will post the script in the Discord, and then everyone can take it and play with it.
You should better post it on GitHub and make an, you call it compact tracker. Christian, we should make a new repository for compact tracker.
Yeah.
How are you saving that data, the box data, out of curiosity?
At the moment, I only writing a video file, so I'm not saving any track data at the moment. But it would be possible, would be no problem. But at the moment, I'm only saving video data and to look at it.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, perfect. It looks definitely promising. And yeah, I can't say it enough. Mike and you have to talk with each other and share your experiences with it.
Okay.
Okay. So, anyone else who wants to contribute for the day? If there is no other topic that you will raise, I'd say we shut it down for today. If you all nod to me. Thank you for nodding. Okay.
Bye.